Hello, I thought I'd do a quick video to show you how I'm going to set up a virtual machine in Oracle VM VirtualBox. I'm going to click on New and give this machine a name. I'm going to call it Uganda-1. I'm putting 1 in the name just to make it clear. If I'm working with the 2 machines to do the work group sharing, it's going to be an easy name to follow. Now, I've already downloaded a image file and I put that in my downloads directory. So if I go to downloads, I created a folder called Win10 ISO. I downloaded this from Microsoft. Quite a large file. I mean, this is almost 5 gigabytes. So let's go ahead and use that file. I'm going to skip unattended installation because I want it to prompt me for all of my options. Now I will click Next. And this machine does have 16 gigs of RAM, but if you don't have that much RAM, I'm going to bring this down to 2 gigs of RAM. 1 CPU is fine. I'll click Next. And then I don't need 50 gigs of disk space. If we run this down to 25, I think that'll work just fine for our test. I leave everything else defaulted, not checked or selected. So I'll click Next. Now the machine is ready to go with 2 gigs of memory. So I will click Finish. Now, this is important. I'm going to choose Start, Normal Start. Okay. So what will happen is this is going to power up the machine and start to do the install from the installation file. It's called an ISO file. So let's go ahead and get this where you can see it. Give it a minute and we see our Windows logo come up. I'm going to break this video up. I'm going to build a machine and then we'll clone the 1 machine for our 2nd machine. Do that in a separate video. Then in the 3rd short video, we'll go through setting up a user on both machines and setting up the file sharing in a work group on the machines. So I'm choosing English. If you're in a French-speaking part of Africa, you could choose French if you're comfortable with that, and your country, you can choose all of those things right here. I'll leave mine in the US since that's where I'm at, and I will click Install, and it's going to come up and give me a license prompt if my memory is working, which most of the time it does. So this is telling us if I have a license key, use it. I'm going to let it know that I don't have one. And this is a new download of this ISO file. I hope it doesn't complain about this later. Usually they give you 120 days, which is long enough for the course to finish it. So I will click that I don't have the install key. We can always add it later. Now, this is going to be the interesting part. Hopefully they're having you install the Pro version. That's what I would install because the Pro version is has more networking features. You can use a domain controller, which you'll learn about in later class, but I would choose Pro Edition. Then click Next. I will accept the terms and click Next. And I will do a custom installation. I'm going to choose my 25 gigs that we allocated. Remember, I took it from 50 back to 25 because we're not going to do much with this machine, I don't believe. And so we will go ahead and let this do the install. So we'll pause the video here and I'll come back to you when this is finished installing. Welcome back to part 2 of building the Windows 10 virtual machine on Oracle VM VirtualBox. So it finished doing all the copying of files, downloading updates, which could take several hours on a slow connection. I will go ahead and choose my country. Again, you can choose Uganda, Kenya, wherever you're at. I'm going to choose United States. And now this will continue its install. You'll notice the host computer I'm on is connected to my internet already. So this virtual machine is getting its internet connection through the host computer. Also, this host computer is a Windows 11 computer. This works the same on a Windows 10 computer, this being Oracle VMware VirtualBox. So I will choose US. Then I'm going to skip a second keyboard layout because I'm not installing another keyboard. Um, some companies will do this if they are if they have multi-language employees that share a computer, because they will plug in a computer keyboard with a different language on it and do their work. So let's say you have a company that runs 24/7. Doesn't happen that often, but it does. Or if you are testing software and what they're called localizing software to work in different languages, then you will also want to set up additional keyboards so you can test in, say, English, Spanish, French, German, the different languages. All right, this is going to take a while, so we will pause this and we'll have multiple parts to this video because this will take a little while. So we will pause and this will be our part 2. And I'll talk to you again in part 3. Here we are at part 3. You have a choice to set this up for personal use, which is what we will do. If you're setting up for an organization, usually, and this is what you see in Windows 10 Pro, that you can set it up for an organization where the logins and everything are controlled centrally. We'll go ahead and select personal use and click next. And let me know if you were instructed to use the home edition. Now, this is interesting. When you add an account, if someone already has an Office 365 account with Microsoft, they will put in, excuse me, they will put in their Microsoft login. I'm going to choose offline account because I don't want to use or try to create logins for Office 365, especially for this exercise. So I'm going to choose offline account. And it depends on where you live if you have enough connectivity to have you constantly authenticating to Office 365. And so using all the Microsoft services, we're not worried about that right now. So I'm going to choose limited experience. Who's going to use this PC? I'm going to keep it simple and call it Uganda 1. Uganda-1. And they're always saying, or even better, do an online account. We're not going to do online. We're just going to hit next. And for a password, I'm going to have no password. Well, it's up to you guys. I'll leave it with no password for now, just to make it quicker and easier. Now, one thing that was interesting when I was setting up a machine on VirtualBox, it was forcing me, when I gave the machine a name, it was forcing me to set up a username and password, which I thought was interesting. Always have access to your recent browser data. Not now. We don't want to do that. All those things you choose, those additional features will cause this machine to go out to the internet and go back and forth with Microsoft. And we really don't want to do that. Also, I'm going to shut all of these things off because we're deploying this so that we can learn how to share files between computers. And we don't want to drive up your access cost, your data cost by having this computer communicate back and forth all the time. If you were working, say, in a larger city, a business that has unlimited data, then maybe you'd turn some of those features on. Now, what we are doing is we will say that we're turning this on for school, just for fun. You have to choose one of them. So, well, I don't actually. I'm not going to choose any. I'm going to choose skip. Again, we're trying to do this set of assignments, and I don't want the machine driving your data cost up. So I'm going to choose, let Cortina. No, we do not want Cortina. It's kind of like you can ask the machine questions. Apple has Siri. Cortina is Microsoft Windows. And I can't remember what Android calls theirs. Forgot. It's the unfortunate thing about getting old, all of you, is I miss my memory, you know? So this will take several minutes. I don't think it will. I'm hoping that it won't. One thing that's interesting is when you install a brand new install of Windows 10 or 11, the install will tell you it's going out to get updates, but then once it's all installed, you'll have it check for updates and it'll download more updates, which it does need. And it is important, just like in the class that I did online, keeping the Microsoft security updates installed every month. They come out the second Tuesday of every month, is really an important thing. If you don't apply those patches every 2 months, um, your machine becomes more and more susceptible or vulnerable to attacks. And the hackers know. Uh, they look for machines that are not, or they have bots, uh, software that they look for machines that are not patched so they can cause you trouble. It's interesting. I don't use this software, VirtualBox. In production environments, we use VMware or Citrix or Microsoft, their virtualization. But it's interesting, the blinking light, you can see it hitting the hard drive down here. That's kind of interesting. I also like to watch, I'm going to right click down here and choose taskbar. Oh, not taskbar settings, sorry. I'm going to choose the task manager. And then I'm going to choose the little graph here. What this will allow me to do is I can split my screen here. I wonder if it'll let me get rid of this thing. Does that? Well, maybe not. Like I said, I don't use this VirtualBox software. I can look and see what it's doing to the CPU, what it's doing to the memory. And you can see I'm using half of my 16 gigabytes of memory. So I can see why they asked you to have a machine with 16 gigs of memory. Okay, here's the machine. It's up and running. So this is Uganda 1. I'm going to make my virtualization. Okay, do you want to allow this PC to be discoverable by other PCs? Yes, you do, because that's part of what's going to let us share files between two of the machines. So we'll let it do that. And it's interesting, you can see the lights blinking down here where it's communicating to the hard drive, and it'll flash the displays here. I don't know what that means. Adapter cable 1 connected. Adapter 1. Oh, that's a network interface. And what it's doing, it will do. So when they talk about network address translation, I'm sure what they're talking about is this. Let's go ahead and right click and open up the network settings on the virtual computer here. Give it just a second. It's still starting up. Plus, I did not give this much RAM. So it's going to be a little bit slower, this virtual machine. You have to be patient. I wonder if I can zoom in on this guy a little bit. I don't want to go full screen. Oh, here we go. Help you have the best browsing experience. Continue. This is also something Microsoft does that's a little bit annoying, is they prompt you to go through all of the new features. We really don't care about that right now, but they will force you to do it. What I wanted to do is show you in the network settings how this virtual machine will have an IP address. It's a unique, it's like the street address to a business or your house. And the host computer that it's running on, this Windows 11 machine in this example, it also has an address. Okay, so it can get a little confusing when you're looking at this virtual machine running. The settings are coming up here on the virtual machine. You have it running, you can interact with it, but then you also still have the main machine right here. This is Windows 11 menu. That's running in front of this virtual computer. So we'll give this a few more minutes. Boy, that's taking a long time. You have to be patient, and I know you're all patient. So now here we are. We're looking at, we can go into, and in Windows 10 you can click change adapter options. There's a couple of ways to do this. And here's the network. So I can right click on this network adapter on the virtual machine and choose properties. Choose properties on IPv4. I hit the wrong thing. I think it's called status or something. You can go in here. Oh, here's one thing I would do while we're here. Uncheck IPv6. We do not need it. Shut it off all the time, because especially where you're at in the Central African continents, you're not going to have people using that and routing that publicly. Status is what we want. If you choose the status, this will show you that you're connected, you're passing data. I was hoping it gives us internet access here. Here we go. We can click on details. This is going to tell you the IP address that you have. That's your unique street address, basically. So 10.0.2.15. And then the subnet mask you'll get into later. Won't go too deep into that. But let's take a look at the network address, and I'll show you another way to do that on this Windows 11 machine. I'm going to type in Charlie, Mary, David, and this is on one of my networking videos. I'll show you how to do it. And I'm going to type in ipconfig, and then this is going to show me right here, I have 192.168.6.115. So remember, that is on the machine that is hosting this machine. And this machine, I don't think it'll let me zoom in. I hope you can see that okay. What it's showing you here is the virtual computer has 10.0.2.15. So what's happening is there's a translation going on where you're getting a translation between 10.0.2.15 on the virtual machine so that it can go out to 10 or 192.168. What was that again? Let's take a look at it. It's right here. 192.168.6.115. I'll do a diagram of this because it's a little confusing just to talk about and show you what that diagram looks like. But that is what's happening. It's kind of cool. Let me zoom in on that. I didn't think it would. The network address translation is going from the address on the virtual machine and telling that address, how do I get out to the internet through the other address on the machine that the virtual machine is running on. Sorry, it can get a little confusing that way, but it's there, it's working. And so I'm going to stop the video here. And then the next video, I'll show you how to clone this machine. I mean, that's what I would do. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this machine down, by the way. Let's go ahead and I'm going to choose power. Oh, come on, power, if it's going to let me. And I'm going to choose shutdown. So I will shut down this virtual machine. You can see it is Uganda-1. So we have one machine running, clean, getting to the internet, using network address translation to get from the virtual machine through the laptop, in this case, out to the internet. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry this video was so long, and I'll talk to you again soon.